Chair. We're delighted to go on with the teachings.
Okay. Okay. 다 아주 명아님 부들두바 동만 다단 자로차 세지르샤다 똑같이 디거들와 어르샤 다딜이야 세지기 냠는 디네 템바스나 다 아주 마소네 세지기 나로야 다 최 컨트지 수수 냠설랑기 이네 태고 친구 태고 징 지게 다 기부 친구지기 남는 내님 다 기부 충분 치어선 참말로 그냥네 창원지 난고요래 아니 와기 냠년 아니 다 디나로를 좀 추뒤지 난고요자 아니 동마다다 아니 자르 직체단데 컨디드레스 랍나 또 동마디 뒤숭고요다 다 당고 딜레 펜베 톱니 다 돌도나 알아 지기 개와 디다 개와 치마다 아니 다 지기 가르쳐 그래 타나 이제 지기 지시나가 마세기 봐도 당할 내가 가르쳐야 인슬라베이나 아니 전주기 셈니다 만져버려야 아니 평가 타고 제 다가라마도 했다 어디 펜베도 없더샤 다 공배도 없으나 양도 전주기 셈니 아니 지기 년이야 라마지 군도는 송주 수고이나 전지 셈니던 야 저와 같이 수도도 드린 추 주저되기 전중아랑의 줄이야 제메 추디여베 아니 지게 장바다니 이제 전주국 셈들 컨디스 핑크도 안 돈이도 베셔로 컨디스 핑크도 어디서 지게 삼로당 액체도 대조 고기였다 다지 돌드나 최까지 전주국 셈니 정보도야 전주 군주 전주국 셈도 돈도 전주국 셈들 정보다 아니 가보 사병도 없어도 아주 마선다 전주기 셈 맞게베 기비 사변답이기 아닌다 추도 아니 다 조사고야 소바도 제고 그랬어 순진비 없어야지 다조 디가서 란진진들이 가장년 년례 슈비 란진진들이야 착비 녀몽기 녀몽고 공수 또베 아니 란진진직다 아니 시디유 콘트 또베 랑진진스 계산 년에 투지 슈비 다 디가서 단다 조고데 심진 탐제리야 아니 파 가지고 그래 지기 니마 따바르시 아니 지기 심진 탐제스라는 지기 그뒤네 뒤라야 아니 심소리야 네 투비야기 지기 셴제버진야기 삼로라 갭 쳬버 갭 진행이 란진진디 미용게 탑을 양도 년부터 단직 최대 최고 요레스 제상 순진부터 다음 올람부터 제상 올람부터 고고요래 다 가져서는 아주 셴의 팸을 주지 세야다 상제 요구방 탑을 쇼세다 저 상으로 되버지 되샤마리 되버면은 아니 강조석이 대백이 유딜을 리비면서 아주 다 차베군의 랑이 레치에데 잠을 샤베인 쓰고리 다 참는 자르토니데 카리얼스 몰라마디요 말이 다 차베 찹들 어디 인도 잠베다 몰라부 톱디니 양내 양도 지게 너무 다 지게 야르 상제기 신감 리아 소왔답지 수수비 심 컨데스 뚜와 당고도 마르 심진기 신되는 인지기 섬로 야기 간다 당고도 아니 지게 최종 송만도 들을 때니 조제비체도 아니 뭐랑 가르다 보도 다 도시지 다 그래서 그래 이만 찍을이야 아주 마선에 최고야 메시지를 최고야 디네 상지도 공함보도 톱 마톱이 파도 제야다 디리 아주 동아디기 돈에 제를 송샤
And so, continuing on with the text and the 7-point mind training text, and we come to the applying the practice throughout the whole life, the section of applying the practice throughout the whole life, which, and the root text says, the essence of an instruction, briefly stated, is to apply yourself to the 5 strengths. And so, in Gyaltsen Tome's commentary, it talks about so it sort of talks about here about the practice throughout the whole of our lives, or in one life. How do we practice? And we have to try to bring in all of the practices of the beings of the lesser, the middle, and the greater scope, and also the practices of Tantra as well, and find a way to there are all of these practices, but we need to find a way to condense that down into a practice that we continue throughout the whole of our lives, and these could be considered the 5 powers. So in the sense we need to not from this life and into the next life, we wish not. So the first strength is the strength of impetus, as it said in the translation of the power or strength of propelling, and this is the in the mind, the kind of sense that now and throughout this life and into the next life and until I attain enlightenment, may I never be separated from the 2 kinds of bodhicitta. So that's the first strength of impetus, or the strength of propelling strength. And then the second one is the strength of familiarization, which is essentially to how to again and again maintain and increase the 2 bodhicittas. So how to continue to connect with and practice them, so that and also and so these are supported by compassion and emptiness, but the main summary of the point of familiarization is repeatedly training ourselves in the 2 kinds of bodhicitta. The third power, the power of the what's called the power of the wholesome seeds, is essentially when we say about where bodhicitta has not arisen, may it arise, and where it has arisen, may it increase. So these are we need to accumulate merit in order to create the wholesome seeds which allow the bodhicitta to arise where it hasn't, and to increase and strengthen where it has arisen. The fourth strength or power is called the power of revulsion, and so mainly this is associated with the main the main problem is for us is here in relation to this is the self-cherishing mind. So it's associated with the self-cherishing mind, and we have to, and also in connection to between the obscurations to the kind of afflictive obscurations and the obscurations to omniscience, and we need to we need to think that this mind is a sense of that for all sentient beings every day, wherever they are, we try to destroy our self-cherishing mind. So we use as an antidote to that self-cherishing mind. We try to develop the antidote to that, which is the ability to cherish others. So the main thing that we need to feel revulsion for is our self-cherishing, and that we have to counteract in order to reduce our self-cherishing. We rely on cherishing others. Rinpoche trying to do something about because nyumongi nyunjitan should be currently ne kare somebody Rinpoche nyunjitan should nigi dan drove
rang jin tela nyunji bi ngor jube rang jin chikche shiti bi ngor jube rang jin o dini ni di 어디 다단다 디가서 조어디 시집중 오주베 랑진진디.
So there are actually two forms of self-cherishing, one connected with the afflictive obscurations and one connected with the obscurations to omniscience. And but essentially here, the main one that we're trying to counteract is the self-cherishing in relation to which is of the entity of the cognitive obscurations, and that's the four. And then we destroy that with the antidotes. The fifth one is the power of aspiration, and here we after performing virtuous deeds, and so here we have the aspiration to benefit, to bring benefit to others, and usually aspirations can come in they can come in the form of attachment, or sort of not an attachment. This is a hope or a wish for being. So it's not. So we beseech the merit field. So here's in the text it says making offerings to the 3 jewels of the Dharma protectors, offering tormas, but also we beseech the field of merit, and we make a prayer that we never be separated from. So we pray to the 3 jewels, the gurus, the 3 jewels, the Dharma protectors, and we pray to them, and that from each day, from now and each day up into enlightenment, when we never be separated from the 2 bodhicittas. So it's a kind of aspirational prayer. And so, because it reminds me of the Dirchak Maimba style, she's on the Drea. Dirchak Maimba. Oh, yeah, just
Dirchak Yukune Lang Maimba. Ani Melamgi Gune Langchi. Ani led to Chegu Yoris. The Dirchak Gune Lambina go Yumoto Songo Lagoda Shutava. Tadanda di Melam Guwangi. Ani Chigi. Yeah. And so this is not the motivation here is not conjoined, or the prayer is not influenced by attachment in any way. Instead of attachment, or sort of we as a substitute for attachment, we have the kind of motivation of prayer. And so because if any of our practices are influenced by attachment, then it brings in it's kind of subsumed within and brings in the 3 poisons. Whereas so all of our practice has to be underpinned by without with as little attachment as possible. And so as a substitute for attachment here, when we're making the prayer, we bring in we make this kind of aspirational prayers. 올라서다 대전 법에 당만 동만이 인줄람지 다 개치 슈팅을 최바지 임베 차네 시갈 하버들이다 시당 만라비 시고요 다시 뒤뒤다 시갈 하버들라 아니 다지기 아주 타면반나신 제제 다지기 신앙당함라지고 올라도 시중의 시주차베는 다 아주마 손에다 개와 치마파를 쇼 개와 딜레이다 지기 세미나를 회신이 되면 참아 제장가 다 개치슈리 시갈 하버들이야 선발 흘려 증안에다 지기 디니 치마를 줘야기 삼로다 아니 치마래양 도르도나니 다 덴데디나를 송그리 아니 지기 도르도나 지기 전주 쌤다 동반이다 닝지다 드졸로다 공부 또 줘야 되냐지를 깔래 연구 말이야 다 제장가 디디 검지 매베 있는 다 갈래로 봐. 제장가 다가 이식 도디다 디가도 고추고 되잖베 다가 이식 되나면 지도 좀 전에 되게 남상코랑 시갈 할 때 가르쳐 그래 슈년디 매패받은 점도 봐. 전주선바 난겐인부 기야슈고도 봐. 아니 디디 랍제들이야. 아니 전주선바 쪽에 컨테스트 지지 검자고 그래. 시제 랍제들도 봐. 당 아주 전주선비게 제나로야. 추도진년 우주시대 안테네 삼로동단데 다단다 데 당마 집중도 다 당마디 모송을 녀려야 다가 이식도 되는 거지 마 접시고 쫓아 그냥 불스튜나다.
And so the next lines read, the Mahayana life for transference involves the same 5 strengths. Conduct is important, which is talking about the moment of death. So the instructions for the moment of death. And for Dharma practitioners, the moment of death is very important. So these kind of death is normally in life, death is something that brings a great deal of fear and fright in this life also, and also in as to where we will go in the future. So at death, we need a relaxed form of mind at the time of death. So, and of course, that relaxed form of mind is related to where we will go in the future. So if we have cultivated, if we have a strong habit of meditating on bodhicitta, emptiness, and compassion, then at the time of death, we shouldn't face too many difficulties. But if we haven't cultivated those, then it'll be very hard for us. So this also in relation to this and the Sutra of Wisdom at the Hour of the Death, where bringing this in, where Buddha is asked about what practices should be done at the time of death. Now, the person who's asking it is a great Bodhisattva, Akashagarbha. He's a great Bodhisattva, so he's not an ordinary person. And so he's asking about how Bodhisattvas themselves should meditate at the time of death. So maybe if we sort of insist a little bit and put our, obviously that's for the great Bodhisattvas, but if we put ourselves in those shoes a bit, then these instructions, and so instructions are given then as to how to meditate at the time of death.
Okay. 다 야가르게도 아야 다야 게나 나마 마야나 수트라 배에게도 봐봤다가 이 시제에 또 상제의 전주 선바 탐지하다 차자로 다 차자방도다 되게다 유튜브도 주는 좀 된데 오면 사이 개별 강산은 쇼데 코르 탐지를 취했던 바다 오면 사이 개별 강산은 쓰다 롱구 좀 된데 롱구 넘버 젠이야 코르 전주 선바 장선파고 샤다 거 삼당 우유설에 다 최대 대쟁이 최 뭐지 송버리스 지진이야 봐. 저장 대화 준비 최대다 가르송스나. 아니 우주베가라 전주 선바 선바침보 난게 닝비 좀 된들이야. 아니 소화답지 휴에디 가르쇼스나. 다 좀 된데 전주 선바 난 지금에 아니 심 지다다 버지. 다 전주 선바지 시가라버데 아니 삼도나 가르스당 그래서 되시. 되네 좀 된데 여기까지 봐서 난게 닝비 전주 선바 난게 남 치기 뒤뒤체 아니 다가 이슈 공부를 차고 스터디 랜디 다가 이슈디 something 그래서 다가 이슈에 대라 전쟁아치 송도와 다가 이슈에 대 다가 이슈도 남세고 된지 그 something 아니 아직 something 그래서 제정가다 뒤나는 계주슈디 치가세들이 뒤네 안에가 좀 싶으리 치가 마세도 컨디지는 문진 차고 그래서 다단다 아주 드린 뒤줄 할래요 말하면도시 다가 이식은도 대화한다 저군진 준비가 잡아디 쉬우지 개부도 근데 나로네 도저나야도서 다가 이시세 다가세도 치갈 하고세도 치가 맞으면 가르치고래 아니 지 예살을 홍제다 지기 디다 치매가 참데 말레고 봐도 아니 고미 디마도 먹으면서 딩야로 아니 고 먹어야 된다를 근데 진짜 도와도 그게 아니 다가 치가 마세야 될이야 아니 단다 가수를 된주된주고 콩탕나지 아니 치가 마세야 돼 아니 얘네 깨는 손도 뭐시지 봐도 참말로 뒤상 치가 말해 시지 뒤하고도 와 간지 아주 얘네 겨울랜번에 손이 치에 고추 사버렸어 와 치월에 second 까만 배다 지게 겨울을 두고 유도점에다 치가 마세리 야춘보지를 삼당 거마도 야춘주지를 삼당에 요 말했지 리스트 재상가다 깨지셔야 돼 말하는 줄 니마 다른 손데다 지게 강도지도 아니 다 아시가 라음이 세치 남시 니메레 nga tan de shiga labu se des ja cher da chi ta di indu zambe de samlo ko indu zambe 아니 지가마 세들 지금 누베질레서 봐 어디 지가마디 디아와스도 다 다가 이시 공부하셔서 달라 다가 이시니 최담지랑 신기 넘버 탑에나 5분에 베듯이 공부하셔서 다 뒤에 당부들이 년대 지도나게
and so this brings us into this is where I'm going to bring in the sutra of the wisdom at the hour of death. And so it says in the Sanskrit language, Arya Atana and Jana Nama Mahayana Sutra, and in the Tibetan language, the Arya Kasana Arya Dikish, the Mahayana Sutra, which is called the exalted wisdom at the hour of death. And then it says homage or I prostrate to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then it says, thus did I hear, while the Blessed One was residing in the palace of the King of the Gods in the Akanishta realm, he taught the Dharma to the entire assembly. Now here, in terms of this, the Akanishta realm, I think that this is one of the Buddha's, this is a realm related to one of the Buddha's enjoyment bodies, and so all of the retinue of the Buddha there are Arya Bodhisattvas, and because it's a complete a realm of the complete enjoyment body, then also only the Mahayana Dharma is spoken of, and so that's what I think is that is what is being mentioned here when we talk about Akanishta. And then the Bodhisattva Sattva Akashagarbha then paid homage to the Blessed One and asked, Blessed One, how should we think about the mind of a Bodhisattva who is about to die? And so here Akashagarbha is, saying to the Buddha, what do we do? How do we think? How do we practice at the time of death? And the Blessed One replies, Akashagarbha, when a Bodhisattva is about to die, he should cultivate the wisdom of the hour of death. The wisdom of the hour of death is as follows. So the wisdom of the hour of death is contained within the wisdom of the hour of death is like a path. It's a path, right? So it's contained within 5 main points, or 5 main paths as to how to meditate at the hour of death. And very importantly here, when we talk about the wisdom at the hour of death, then it's important to think about what's being meant here by the hour of death, or the time, the time of death, very close to the time of death. Now, in the seventh Dalai Lama's, Kelsang Gyatso wrote a very extensive commentary on the Sutra of the Wisdom at the Hour of Death, which is very extensive, and I haven't got time to go into all the very subtle points that the Kelsang Gyatso Gyalwa Kelsang Gyatso brings up in that commentary. But he makes a very interesting point near the beginning about what it means what it means in this sutra to be talking about the hour of death. And he encourages us not to see that as just the time of the exhaustion of this life, when we're going to fall into the lower realms, or not just only that time when we leave this particular life, but he says that actually from the very moment that we're born, we're moving towards death. And so all the moments from birth to death can be considered in some sense the hour of death. And so he encourages us to not think in a too narrow way about what it means to be the hour of death, and to encourage us to think much more widely because the time of death is uncertain, and from the very moment of birth to the time of death, each moment we are constantly moving towards death. So he encourages us to think much more widely in sense of almost like every moment from now until the time of death, as much as possible, to engage with these practices. So that's how he so Kelsang Gyatso encourages us, the seventh Dalai Lama Kelsang Gyatso encourages us to do this. And then in the first of the kind of main points, it says all phenomena are naturally pure, so one should cultivate the clear understanding that there are no entities. That's the first point.
그래서 같은 이 퇴진법에 당화스 시제 뭐송 응년라 맹아 인부들도 그 동마 달러 잡아서 동마디 강림만 송도 전에 아니 니버디 단다 다부 편배도 니버도 공배도 없애지도와 어다 공배도 없송도 전에 그 양내 양도 로 집을 지구고요 봐 제상가 포에 당화 뭐송을 로 집을 제 에듀케이션 부에서 디송송 아니 단다 자와 기상자서 송번나 신치지 아주 간도지도 년이야 라와여가 갑려야 삼모단이 중나 더 shum아 아니 지기 시가라고 될이야 지금 두주 통동 세금 가시지마도 매비네 람사 톱레로 컨트롤 템비 아니 somebody 지금 아주 마선에 죽주 마선에 터지 여고지 제요나 람사 주버 땅와당 람사 그런래 탁 스텝 투에 지당 뽑아도 된 버터네 아니 죽주 땅 투여나시 시가라고 될이야 지금 세델이야 도지 삼로치 땅 도지 지금 로다 취업이 제요나 아니 시가라고 될이야 아니 지금 년이들이야 차과제제 내먹어봐 수수수수 셈나로도 시제 춘이 간을 제주도 냐벌 샤야를 chuẩn备 안도 정말로 지게 어디지도 용서를 봐 단다고네 더지도 등주 둘서를 봐 어디 있다 내가 좀 찾아 나서 어디냐 주주나다
And so you know, also this we've talked. I've just been teaching this in the context where we talked up above about the you know, the essence of the instruction, briefly stated a sort of summary of the essence of instructions being applying oneself to the 5 powers. And remember, the second power was the power of familiarization, and here that this is very important because. In the sense of cultivating familiarity with the practices, the different kinds of practice. So, you know, and taking how the seventh Dalai Lama is kind of encouraging us to see it in a much broader way. So, you know, not just at the time of death, but from now onwards. In even if we only have a few moments in which to cultivate familiarity and attune ourselves to these practices, then that's how we should do it, not just wait for the moment of death. For instance, if you're preparing for an exam and you do very good preparation, then you'll have a kind of confidence and courage when the exam questions come out and you're facing the exam questions. You have a kind of confidence and courage to very clearly, very quickly, you know, be able to write the answers. And at the time of death, if we have some form of familiarity with these practices, which has been built up over a period of time, and therefore, and not to get caught in attachment to loved ones and friends, family, and loved ones, but to be able to, we should be able to generate a confidence that we can kind of single-pointedly focus our minds and meditate on suchness. Then this is the perfect preparation for the time of death.
다 ngobome be dishirab de komba chaas de ngobome ba se te ta rangxinji zhubo me ba rangene zhubo me ba se ta rang je ta digi khon de ya ta tanda xingda le ja ne gyao gun ju be gi de uma zhubo da uma zhubo ga so ni xingda le cheba che na xin chi je ni xingda se ne de horang ge ngene xingda se ji zawani ne bi ge dakshi deng ji ju me ba dakshi gi deng ne 쟤는 니주메버지 송도와 이렇게 전부를想도 다 개치슈는 다 개침부 지슈다 디차비 유스를 저장 당어란 쪽이 최 컨디션비네 비결을 독신 주구죽사디 참을 덕실 된 주구죽이요 마도 저게 고랑 뭐비니주 다가라야 주구죽 투 여럽선 주구죽 투 여말에 다디 다 최고도와 아주 여기 베나피게 매직 독스라비나 메디 아니 메디 과도스도 피게 독스 피게 과도스 주고주고도 그 소공도 주고주고로 해서 지차기요 봐. 지나다 소공디 고간사도 많이 땡케차. 이나야 소공 아니 dak시 풍봉하고 강롱라 땡 코치 땡에서는 코랑 경연에 땡에서 해야 와지 고요래. ngöne sedi yaba chiche kuyo, korang ngöne duk, dakshi pungpungabu kangrung ngöne duk, tene duk, di kibar nidi che, da tangbo di ngöne duk sedi injimji kaa kuyo, korang ngöne duk. Da di kaya liya, ane pe nana pe chodo juba di, uma tinju biru liya, dirisha, takta di, takta liya pe jawa ndu zambe, ane takta di, 키로도 시제 주는 신경이 아니 멤버 중세 멤버 중세지 받대비체 나 간사 다캔데라야 도스 고 줄 남지 도스 신하여 되니지 되게 지갑이야 아니 간사되기 타고 타다디 도 시제 통원도 준비 아니 타다 쓰는데 비기 시코난 거는 위협지 코란게 배 세우 시지 답배 타주는 시기여 봐 저장가다 ranju takshi pungpungabu kangrong le tene ngas labda lagu yor de ina yang ju sem dingnar khar yor samna takshi pungpungabu nanglo la ya kangrong chi nanglo la ngas ni de gugre se sam yor da dida ani pe jawon de zambe korang ge ngene me pe de la ya thagda le pe jawon pe da wa chabe thagda le pe ja che ani nga ju thagda ge ngene ani 탁적인 권이 주고 봐도 주 자원이 매번 신체 나스니데 덕시 공부하고 강론하는 제원도 자원이 나서야 되니 주요 말이스 디타쳐 와 자장가 딱 노디긴 가자 마서는 가자 타슈드 가르스나 덕시 중간에 나 제는예 요래 나스니데 두 시제 차바다가란디 루디 가자 차간도 잠베 아니 ngōbō mēbā sēdō ngōbō sēdī rāngshīn yu chūbī ngōbō dī mēbā tā dī kā tō bachī kōgō yōrē dī kā kōgō yōrē tā dī ngā chō gāchir rō dī ngā gāchir chāma tīr tā dī kā bī kā lī yā tā ngā mūtū nī shēshā kī tā kērā chō dū tū tū tā kērā chō sāma kiawā rā bā tī dī ngā rā rā wā nā nī kī jū tsāma rō kiawā yin zā ngā tī rā mā shēshā kī tā shēshā kā tā 아주 내가 사실 가르도 슬라비나 가규도 가구요래 코랑 경연의 민도 다시 중원의 민도 시제 가구요래 때 디가바당 람사 마민도 냠베 로디 깨베이나 다 뱃사다 디그 란주 미유코를 두비오 말해 아주 미유디 나랑은 두버 까니 두 대샤고 삼야디 말해 나랑은 두버 까비 제수 내가 먹고 싶이 제일 하요. 가상님만 당부되는 쉬운하신 동거 통고 dum전디 띵중고 고아디 때문에 당연 시도레스 레 준제를 소고다 드즈르야 이제 때문에 기절했어. 다선디 가상 니 공부럽시기 디퓨바 어디지 간제 디 추주 송전 되고요. 어디 반전다와 가자 반전다와 잡기 아니 우마 쉽게 잡아야 나로야 도스도스 제르무치기 쉬지 자침을 수지 도 나도가 어디 인지미지 공부하고도 좀베다 컨테스 당분에 나랑은에 선도 대신에 되기로 진짜 자원이 되기요 말해 되게다 제대로 통행이가 전부요 되는데 좀베 디마가 병을이야 냐리야 타지도 마가 병을이야 나랑은 두버싱 마가 병을이야 아니 이와치치 아주기 랑은이 매나양 랑은이 매나양 이 초베 마세치 디 랑은이 매나양 이 초베 상지 랑은이 매나양 두두스 이 초바 어디게 삼로치 레고요 디게 자장가 제르부치게 남손 나버야 아니 동바단 땡중니디 동바지고 거베이나 아니 다외 제바 조버선 조요 말이스 제장가 동비 다외 제바 거두 조버스 잠베 동바단 띵중니기 고와 띵이 따다 냠도 대토이나 아니 다외 제바 조버스 들이 송도와 어다 띵네가 챵버셔 제장가 먼저 친이 흉나로리아 남주 용주 세지 남주 송구요 봐 남주 용주 어다 남주 용주 송비갑리아 디 시비자침을 성부니 그래서는 파가제 추두기주거레스 냠시 답변은 출로 취하시는 냠바 샤두고 넘버 제버마도 용주를 이렇게 두고요 말 디고조로 검지된 지들봐 다제장가 냠샤리 제수 포스트 메디테이션 세도와 제도비 시지 값소 아니 규마다고도 시시 샤롱도가 샤롱도 좀 단도 가난게 전주 선부터 년도 년랑 바꿔줘야 도주 지기 된진대와 좀 쉬어도 통원도 좀 신이 오늘전에 규마다부지 통구요래 때 차생매에 통해 건조 딜 나와지 셔고요래 시장난 거요래 샤리아 딜이야 믹스기 안조다 먼저 제대 체도와 제대 전부난 것도 와 제대스나 고로와 통치보단 것도 와 어디 인도 잠베 되게 딱 하려서는 남주엘이야 랑싱도 두고 케이크 제소 가져에 뷰다고 케이크나 디 띵중의 주핑의 요장 용주 아니 제도비 시지급수 디카소를 규마다고 통도 아니 된지기 기부텔이야 규매체도 저래요 아니 자침부 찍도 먼저 남기 규마다 밀람다도 좋지원도 잠베 디 주마다 통중체에서 그렇지 근데 규마나 시리 밀람나 시리에서 쓰니지 이나야 장선 파바다 예랑 파바도 저래야 추는 밀람다고 통원도 좀 믹스기 그거치모도 와 어떤 중 아주 샘는 임지 냐도 좋고 저정가 다연 돌뒤르다고 션 뭐보면 베트시에 공부를 차세 뭐보면 베트시에 공부 갈라티레 검사비 주고를 딜레고요 저는 어디 뭐보면 베트시에 다 줬어 어디
Da todo stormreta. And so, yeah, in terms of this first sort of category of cultivating discrimination or clear understanding, it says all phenomena are naturally pure, so one should cultivate the clear understanding that there are no entities. So here what we mean by no entities is in terms of having no inherent entity. And Chandrakirti in his in Chandrakirti as a really good example of how to understand this, brings up his example of the chariot and the analysis of the chariot, and how when we search within the basis of designation of, say, the chariot, there are no phenomena that the phenomena don't exist findable in the basis of designation, of their basis of designation. But for us, whatever appears to us appears to be out there, not in the sense of, when we point the finger at things, they're very solidly out there. So there's, so when we say, oh, where's so-and-so, oh, they're over there, and we point the finger to them, but of course we're pointing a finger at their body. But the body's not the person, and therefore, so then the body's not the person. Okay, so then there's the five aggregates of the person, and so what we have to be able to do is kind of separate out or divide out the sense in which the person exists from the side of the five aggregates, or the person existing designated on the basis of the five aggregates. And these two things, obviously, what we're attempting to do here is to refute the first one, which refute the first one where the five aggregate, where the person exists from the side of the aggregates. And and not to refute the person which is merely designated on the basis of the aggregates. Now, a very good example that's brought up in relation to how to think about this is in terms of is a Prasangya Madhyamaka example of the striped rope. So you have a striped rope which is coiled up in the kind of shape that a snake would coil itself up in. Maybe there's kind of external conditions. There's a bit of kind of it's a bit slightly dark, or dusk, or the light is not clear. And also another condition can be that the person who sees the striped rope has the kind of fear that comes up in them. And so these conditions cause them to think that there's a snake from the side of this coiled rope. And so in the same way, in the sense for us also, so finding a snake within the basis of designation, which in this case is the coiled rope. So for the basis of designate for a person, the basis of designation is the 5 aggregates, and then the self. It's almost like we need to find the self in the 5 aggregates. We would feel like that, and so so in the analogy Chandrakirti gives us with his what he's saying is that in the same way as so the snake has never at any time ever existed from the side of the coiled rope, and so neither have we ever existed at any time from the side of the aggregates. And so this is, here we're talking about a very subtle object of negation. So finding the designated phenomena within the basis of designation is a very subtle form of is a subtle object of negation, and is related to and this is the inherent existing. This is the kind of understanding of inherent existent phenomena, finding them in the basis of designation, which needs to be obviously refuted. And I'm talking here to many of you in the audience who are great scholars, and so are some the translators has also studied a little bit as well. So I'm careful of what I'm going to say, but
I didn't say little. I just so much.
You did, but I'm the interpreter. So I have to interpret. This is a subtle object of negation that we need to refute the existence of things from their own side. But it's not like we just refute the existence of phenomena from their own side and then we just kind of, okay, my work's done, I take a break now, all's good in the world. That's not going to fulfill our aims at all, because our aims are there's a lot left to be done. Having even if we're able to identify and properly refute the object of negation and do that properly, there's we don't just take a rest, then there's lots still to be done. And why is that important to say? Because what's left over, what's left to be done, what's left to be engaged with is that our understanding of that lack of existence from its own side, or essentially emptiness, is also very important. That doesn't at any point harm the dependently related world and the understanding of the law of karmic cause and effect, which I think I mentioned earlier, or maybe in J. Rinpoche's Illumination of the Intent, which is a commentary on Chandrakirti's Entering the Middle Way. J. Rinpoche takes as very supremely values the words of Chandrakirti, Aryadeva, from his 400 verses, and what we're what essentially he's saying there in the verses is that when there's a great danger if from the start we don't understand the importance of the dependently related world. Then from the beginning, there's a great danger that when we understand things to not exist from their own side, there's a grave danger of us falling into the extreme of nihilism. So before we do our analysis, we need to sort of divide, up the sense of existing from its own side. We need to have a strong sense that even if we find that things don't exist from their own side, that it's still possible that there can be a person. It's still possible there can be a self. It's still possible that there can be a Buddha. And in Rinpoche, in his 3 principal aspects of the past, talks about how if you only have the understanding of the empty nature of things, then that doesn't complete you're not complete in your understanding of the view. You need both the understanding of the view of emptiness and the understanding of the dependently related world in order together, and then that completes your understanding of the view. And in the debate kind of manuals and in the debate kind of tradition, there's what's called Namje Yongju, where you take a particular quality of something, and by refuting one side, they're two opposite. So they're basically essentially opposite qualities. And if you refute one, then you automatically have to, by refuting one side of one opposite, you necessarily have to establish the opposite of that. And I think this has a great value and meaning to it. And so taking that sort of in terms of dependent relation and the lack of inherent nature, and for instance, in the meditative, let's say in the higher parts of the meditative session, we're meditating on emptiness, but when you come out of that into the post-meditative session, phenomena appear as illusory-like, and this happens for the hearers and solitary, the hearer and solitary realizer arhats and the bodhisattva arhats, and they have a tremendous sort of they place tremendous value on these illusory-like phenomena. For us, we tend to think of things like illusions and mirages and dreams, and we really sort of look down on them. We don't really give them great value, but actually in the post-meditative session, seeing things as illusory-like the illusory-like appearance of phenomena is highly valued by the arhats, and so this connects to this was my very brief summary of the all phenomena are naturally pure, so one should cultivate the clear understanding that there are no entities.
Okay. 다 되는 이버딩도 다 최탐지 chanju system스 되베나 세트리도 봐. 다 최탐지 chanju system스 chanju system스 되베네 닝지 준비도 싫어도 좀 봐줘. 다디 제장가 다 최탐지 chanju system스 되바 세디 나 지단에 최탐지 chanju system스 되버 버시네 되고 요마 되고 말아. 다디고서 최탐지 chanju system스 되바 세 이게 선로디 가르당 거였어도 those conditions do matter 다 너를 유식이 이나야 도시냐 공부지잖아 다다다가 이시 도송서의 전주선 법시리 장선 법 법시리 대인도 전에 된저기 원한소리야 공부해야지 심전당 최마도 체험해드는 신뢰 대인도 전에 쿠란 쪽이 전주기 심비 알아주면서 남도 잠들게 하려면 말에 대인도 전에 저어디 chanju sim kuna nani du simjingi ten chegi simgi simdibe chada yin du zambe changsan baba du zola ani 좀 di kar song chesna chö tamje chanju sim su duba se du zambe chanju sim dudan di karasna sim kiranju simdis chanju sim kiranju simdi roba ani chö kandiji bena kiranju simgi pa ani 가르쳐오래 똑배파 따바 좀 싫어 봐. 또 전주 선바절로 전주 샘송나 렘부시요. 당한 철 전주 샘시디 남셔 정도 전주 샘메도 좀 전주 샘스 되버스 전주 샘 지켜원지 어떤 디난 뒤들 배세 some 코드와 다 장선 전주 샘 장선 파바도 소인베이나 고란주 교기다 샘데가 하나만 손에다 전주 샘기 뭐 샘비기다 샘매 좀 짠짠 봐. 대인도 선배 쇼담지 전주 샘 바 따바 점시래 세도 구주 친구도 와 저장가 최탐지랑 게 전주 있음도 또배 따바 점래 이나야 아니 심전다 심전 다 심전 탐지 아니 디기 같소래 우마 주변나로 있단다 닝지 숨송배나로네 미면미 닝지 세티 미면미 닝지도 송배가려야 배디 닝지 무시도 와 저와 여기 취는 게 나와다 요다랑 신이 좀 동벌통이 있어. 다 당보입니다 버리죠. 니버드마 자원도 좀배 주나라야 샤딩이 나와데 다원문에레 섬제 배 아주마 손에 디기군의 란제 다 레모 싶지 지기도스 디군의 란제니 요모도 좀 싸우도 시제 소문나 신체지 좀 된디게 어다들 쉐탐제 아니 또배 따봤음 계란주고 또배다고 잠시 손야 돼서라 잔주고 생기 또배다고 잠시 세기 어디 숨으면 면도선 거해 또배다고 좀 인지 고랑기 왜네 두고 지에 매발라 고랑기 왜네도 냠베 토네 아니 뇨모도 좀 레드 아니 지금도 세도 잠베 대인도 잠베 다 닝지 준비 두시 공부 그래 봐 닝지 준비 두시 초도 교가 됐다 대나는 송도와 장선 파바절로 시버지 미세 디송사디 이게 몸이 기신감 나야 송도 세상가다 알란절라 되게 섬당 뵙고 자심으로 봐 어디지 그냥 듀난다
and then we come to the second sort of category or second kind of discrimination, meditative discrimination, where it says in the sutra, all phenomena are subsumed within the mind of enlightenment. So one should cultivate the clear understanding of great compassion. So there's a little bit, if we debated with this, then we'd say, so this is about, bodhicitta being subsumed within the mind of enlightenment, and also in terms of, cultivating the discrimination of compassion. But if we say all phenomena are subsumed into the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, then they're not consumed. If you want to debate, they're not subsumed. And so what would be the way to sort of think about that? And I've got to remember that this sutra is being spoken to only to Arya Bodhisattvas. So they're in that particular kind of realm. They're not they've developed it. They've developed their concern is only developed. They've raised and developed bodhicitta, and only purely for the welfare of all sentient beings, and so they have this very strong sense of they see all phenomena as empty, and have a very strong sense of the welfare of all sentient beings. And so I think when we say here that all phenomena are subsumed within. So there's a very strong sense of their cultivation of bodhicitta, and I think what the Buddha is saying to them here is that you bodhisattvas, your mind, and very particularly this mind of enlightenment, whatever dharma you're practicing is all influenced by bodhicitta and compassion. In fact, there's no mind that is not held within the influence for these kind of beings. There's no mind which is not held within the influence of bodhicitta. But actually, what he's also saying to them is that whatever dharma, whatever phenomena exist at all, then they all exist merely imputed by conception. And so I wonder whether what it means here is that so there's no mind which is not held. There's no mind of theirs which is not influenced by the mind of enlightenment, and so maybe the Buddha is saying to them, your very mind of enlightenment itself your very mind of enlightenment itself is actually merely imputed by conception. And also in relation to this, where we talk about mind of enlightenment, and then the understanding of great compassion, so the great compassion for all sentient beings. And in Chandrakirti's entry to the Middle Way, he mentions at the beginning of the first chapter, he mentions 3 different kinds of compassion. There's one merely focused on sentient beings, focused merely on mere sentient beings, one on phenomena, and then the third one, a kind of non-objective or non-referential compassion. And I think it might this verse here might be related to that. The 4th verse of the entry to the Middle Way talks about how beings are like reflections of the moon in rippling water, seeing them as fleeting and as devoid of intrinsic nature. And it says the Bodhisattva's mind falls under compassion's sway. So, and that's a beautiful, a beautiful analogy, first of all, about the impermanence of the sentient beings, but then in relation to how they're seeing the sentient beings as being lacking intrinsic existence. And and then seeing that without understanding, first of all, without understanding impermanence, but specifically without understanding the lack of intrinsic existence of things, then all of the 3 poisons, the self-grasping and the 3 poisons arise, and so things lacking their so the things lacking existence from their own side, and so that compassion can be out of all the 3 kinds of compassion, and that this kind of non-referential or objectiveless compassion would be considered the greatest compassion of all. And of course, here we're talking about Arya Bodhisattvas who reside in the Akanishta realm, so they're very high levels of practitioners. So I think it could also bring in that aspect of the 3rd compassion, which is mentioned in Chandrakirti's entering the Middle Way.
다 최탐제 정신기 외세버세도 전배 삼노동다 니 공시지 최탐제 정신기 외세버세도 최 관리집이나 랑면의 주바 면장 코랑경면에 연나 랑신기 주바 랑신기 주바 코랑경면에 매바 인장 랑신기 뭐 주바 어디 인도 전배 코랑경면에 아니 주바 지에면도 전배 디 코랑기 랑신기 외세와 디 유일 배자 유일 랑신기 뭐 주바디 유지 랑신기 외세와 다셈 랑신 개치쇼디 셈들이 셈기 랑신 외세바 두고요. 유랑신 유디 랑신기 코랑경면에 뭐주바지다 랑면에 매바스 차장 진이 참바지다 송고 말돼 있는 셈잠비기 유중면에 매세지 송고요. 디잠신 핑크요 말이 안죠 단주 셈기 나와세들 하드고요. 셈기 나와 샤레디 아니 데버두바레스 송디고 봐. 장하는 tinjubi게 셈기 나와디 셈기 나와 점심마도 요마니 세 축송디도 나와세디. 제가 진제디 유진경면에 다시 제비 갑려야 셈제들 제원도 선배 다 유년을 수반의 6년 조সম도 대 야고지 제비나 셈스니 대가 좀 손에 양게 얼음치 남주 두섬을 잔에 송도 두절 잡이나 카고도 셈스니데 고랑기 뭐 최야 로가스 메딩 손으로도 돌드나 유일 때니 유진 샤야 지다 유진을 때니 유샤트 샤야 손으로도 셈스도 배가 좀 손에 배 로가지 캐요지 엔디네 샤르바레 세 셈자만은 시험하듯이 디두 점배 돌드나 셈 랑신기 치메타가 외세와 유 랑신기 모두가 인자 유 외세와 유된 유진이가 외세와 제장가 외세세디 남주 단다 디나를 겨워 근데 준비가 빼자운도 참배 아니 난카타불이야 빼자지 아니 난카타부디 난칼이야 timbo corona series nankala timbo corona series and timbo de luboris dipingu di lubo ma di yomaris di indu zambe nankei ki rangshin karresan tori meba horandes korang ngene meba tori meba di yugi nilu imamasi yujene dira sem korang ngene meba o di komba shewo indu zambe 유대 유진이가 그런 랑신님의 basam 건조점배 디랑신기 외세버리 냠니 아니 디 임비 좀젠델라 좀젠디 가져 랑신기 외세벤나 디드웨 어디 저장 좀젠고도 와 랑신기 모두가 인장스 랑신기 외세벤나 아니 가르 공부를 했어요 다 미미비디쇼 공부를 했어 어딘 아주마서 친이 유중나로라 랑신기 메테 아니 땡제 비치르세 소로치 랑신 메베 인자 다 랑신 메버가 대고르마도 아니 탑시 잡아 개요만 소이치 오베니주 다가랑 갈 대고 어디 이도점be 개치슈디다 디나로리아 당다 르보 숨 조베나로 르보 숨과나로 좀 된디기 동문이 고메도 숨도 건단도 또 설화도 야 구릉 기관에 맞도 셴 고메 시치거도 미멜메비닝지 곰디우 간에 좀젠 동반이리샤 미미비디시 고메데 조 동반이리샤 아니 그 당보디 가르도 오보메비디시 곰바 차세 오보메비디시 뒤에 다가라로 봐 제도 잠베다 개지주디다 동반이 고메들이도 예지주디 디숭가 디주숭가디 가나 사면 어디 가자 퍼비지오 지숭도 can somebody unmute Fabrizio please Okay.
Rinpoche
Yeah.
seguive.
So yeah, inda.
Tutangonda Rinpoche.
Mm.
Kola
Sona.
makola ngama to yomare. Di sovo di tanda di tompani da dorduna yuda yuche nikal di chagi orva. Di
Oh.
charvia insa di tanda di dunze sumio per Rinpoche dunze
Oh.
sunka diso di tompani la comparcia asci.
Dilo,
Agduela di
Oh,
sumbiorva.
dilo.
Onta
Dilo.
akoso.
Okay. Okay. Back to the floor, please. Simon.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. And then we come to the third of these clear understandings or discriminations. It reads, all phenomena are naturally luminous, so one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-apprehension. And so here it's talking about all phenomena being, it says naturally luminous. And so there are, one way of thinking about this is to think in the sense that all phenomena don't exist from their own side. There's no, if they existed from their own side, they would inherently exist. If they don't exist from their own side, then they're not inherently existent. And so since they're not on search, they're not found to exist from their own side, then therefore they all lack in they lack an inherent nature. So that's one way of thinking about that. But we need to go a little bit deeper than that and think that, so that's dealing with sort of all phenomena. But then if we take the mind itself and wonder about what's the natural luminosity, what's the quality of natural luminosity of the mind, and although there's a kind of explanation which takes place in the mind-only school, of course they wouldn't fit all of the criteria in terms of the Madhyamaka, but there is a sort of, where they talk about appearance to mind or a mental phenomena being just appearance to mind. Of course, they still take the mind, the Prasangika and the Madhyamaka schools will say that it's mere appearance to mind, whereas they say that the mind-only school is saying that it's appearance to mind, but something the mind itself does truly exist. So there's a difference there, but there's a sort of similar point that occurs here, when we look at the mind, His Holiness has sort of mentioned, thinking about the mind into the relation many times, thinking about the mind in relation to analysis of the 3 times and how you can't pin it down, you can't get a handle on it, but also we can't sort of and also objects and subjects, the subjective mind and the objective phenomena which it cognizes are related to each other. So you can't just talk about a mind completely out of context, unrelated to the objects which it cognizes, and vice versa. You can't talk about objects really without the cognizing subjective mind. And so so here is sort of another way to think about, the objectively being free of lack of intrinsic existence, and maybe subjectively free of naturally free of stains is maybe another way to think about this. And the 7th Dalai Lama in his commentary on the Sutra of Wisdom at the Hour of Death gives us an example, the sky. And he says, well, the sky from time to time has clouds in it. It's obscured by clouds, and the clouds obscure the sky. But the clouds are completely adventitious. They're temporary. They only obscure the nature of the sky, but the nature of the sky itself is just to be a mere absence of obstruction. That's the nature of the sky. And so from the sake that the mind doesn't exist from its own side, but also the obscurations of the mind are adventitious. They're temporary. They're not part of the mind. And so in the and so here what in the Buddha is giving, he's using in each of these three things, he's saying, for instance, all phenomena are naturally luminous, and then he says, so one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-apprehension, which is this non-referential or non-objective or non-apprehending discrimination. And he's using that as a reason. He's saying, the first lines, all phenomena naturally pure, subsumed, or luminous, are being used as reasons. So he says all phenomena are naturally luminous, so therefore one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-apprehension. And that's the reason. So in the debate tradition, we say, all phenomena lack true existence because they're dependent relations. So he's using it in this kind of way of a kind of a subject, predicated thesis, and then a reason, and then. And so in each of these, in each of these three, they're all talking about meditating on the emptiness of phenomena, empty nature of phenomena, in all three of them. They're giving, in the first one, it's saying that all phenomena are naturally pure. Second one, all are subsumed within the mind of enlightenment. And the third one, all are naturally luminous. So the reasons are slightly different, but the sort of, the thesis is the kind of the same, that it's about meditating on. So all of these are basically talking about meditating on the empty nature of things.
알았어. 다 아주 뒤지 집어가는 데도다. 다 미다비 뒤지 검전 송샤. 다디 나도 거기 라요 말하는 저 차대 뒤지샤. 다 텔이야 아니 전쟁할 권에 공부시고를 해서 겨우도 되게 송도와. 저승가 다디 전쟁할 차선 네 대시 기후 개모고 했다도 체미다보 공부를 했어. 다 체미다보 공부를 시도 전에 그 조어줘야지 딱 보면 봐. 손상 그 조어줘야 되고 쭉 잡지. 딱 신의 마지 용어도 교수는 많이 봐. 그게 가르쳐 그래. 런주 메타비 베디야 쇼디는 뷰 출을 배적이어래. 추디 추법지도 지삼을 담배나 추디 이거 간에 법구도 성비성비를 추 법진이 추디 월 말래 차봐. 어디는 신치지 아주 미지도 쉬지 교부주 조도 전배 그냥 아주 많소네다. 개와 치마세디 타니 우수 레용 급선으로지 삼당 리스 디미다보 공고 리스 다들 정말 디미다보 공 디체미다보 공 다치 되네 르르닝고 메보 공부르스 론저르닝고 메보 공부르스 자실링고 메보 공부르스 아니 도르도나 코와 타다르닝고 메보 공부르스 시시타 된지기 디 듬젤라니 미다보 소노가 다디 인도점베 메다보 삼도 되기 아니 닝고 메비 코와드 컨디스토 그래 다디 공부시오 그래 도르도나 단단히 지난주 디스퓨 남rum치메 슈고 비디입지 되게 지난주 표유가 어디를 찍시나 디코도리아 딘디주와 제름치 딘디송샤 오버 디당 다 되미서버 텔데 디장 다 tor dagi jang de toro tena di tangla yi gawa dang ningbu langde chibi and tu chawo sechi tadigi karsongdo sena di zo de jirmichi sungsi di da jibatang gures tong samba pergo gures ngamji ma do ne den soso shibuji chase gi ngobodi soso pa yuni ma jone ko chu yuni joyares right 아주 yuni 조금에도 세요 말디 ko yuni drogo에 키그리스 대송만 나신 땅 알아주 추를 빼자다 다 잘랄 빼맞지 라는 주년 사진 예월에 풍부 뒤게 시다 사진 예월에 풍부 뒤다 짜치셔 대디 의매비 미요를 칸보매비 미요를 아 돌드나 수군들이 메dio 미요 말봐 민아주 미르게 시도 전에 어떤 데 미르디 아니 알아는 쪽에 짜침부터 코춘이 거라 랑신 거라 가르스나 디유는 로고에 디 코춘이를 봤어 그봐 디 미답에 랑신이 있어야 돼 춘이 있어야 돼 디든 던다던 지고를 시작한다 미답에 랑신이 있지 디 인도 잠베 쇼지게 될 다고 잡는 데에 삼로 땅데 베이나 디 삼는 줄을 봤어 다로 땅는 저는 로고 그랬어 세상로 땅에 먼저 온게라 아니 가르치긴 키는 로고인 봤어 다들 닝불랑세 세상가 사전에 원래 풍부 자신부 뒤 주지디에 딜 착신 제비 유어레스 딜에 다고자고래 돼 이네 착신 제네 땜부시 진디에 돼요 말이스 네 가전에서는 여머지 유 타조 유를 디 타쳐버렸어 담아 유 바로도 디기 추 유네를 아주 파 유네를 고트주 만족 받아 벨리티 만족을 봐도 가르치긴 봤어 그러나 단닝불링이 단닝부 가르스나 단계 다가 이시고 동부 고주나 뒤시메가 뒤공부를 아니 뒤시 아마도 템으로 용해라 미다버디 공부해야지 내가 치부지는 거야 어디 안줄을 라주면서 진주 선발에 납제 뒤경도 와 준비돼 어디르샤 아 시민은 다들 오버텀지 미다베나 찔레양 마차베 뒤쇼 공부 차고 찔레양 세테테 도드나 수수미시디네리 블루디네리 롱주이네리 자시이네리 코아 칸리지 코웨네 칸리지를 깨월렘베이나 이미지디 상와 유는 레레스 디 냠도 디기인세 섬로 땅에 딜이야 인슈런스 시라시라 수야 개면도 소 좀. 몰라서 다데 뒤시 시고 조송
So now we come to the fourth of the discriminations or clear understandings as it's translated in this version, and it says all entities are impermanent, so one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-attachment to anything whatsoever. And so this really
Fabrizio, you are muted.
This verse.
Fabrizio, you're muted.
Yeah, he's muted.
Oh yeah, okay. That is.
Oh, and so this is really connected with us. This is the fourth of the, all entities are impermanent, so one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-attachment to anything whatsoever. And so here, if we deal with it specifically in relation, as we've been talking before, and in terms of mind, and so here what they're saying is there's nothing that is permanent. The understanding of impermanence, nothing is impermanent. Everything is always changing. A good example of us, for us, in order to relate to the understanding of impermanence, is that, is like a water falling, or a waterfall, and how it's in kind of in constant motion. So we look at the water falling and we think it's falling water, but then it hit, by the time we sort of look at it, the water has already fallen, so it's in a kind of constant motion, and so it's in constant state of flux or change. And so the next life is coming very close for us, and we need to. It's very important that we meditate on impermanence. So in this life, whatever we have, whether it's our body, the sort of enjoyments and resources of our lives, those who are close and dear to us, or whatever place in samsara we inhabit, we need to meditate on these as being impermanent. We have to throw them away. We have to leave them behind. We have to go on and leave them behind. We can't take them with us. And so whatever things we have right now in this life, they will have to be cast aside as we go on into the future life. And therefore we can say that there's no essence to them. In Rinpoche's great treatise on the stages of the path, in the section on generosity, in the English translation, it's on at the bottom of page 137. This is included within the section on generosity, but Rinpoche says these words about talking about miserliness, and he asks someone to think in the following way. He says, this material thing and I are definitely going to be parted by death. It will leave me and I will leave it, so I might as well take pleasure in giving this away and put it to good use, making a separation just as at the time of death. So that's the advice that, actually it's not J. Rinpoche, it's quoted. It's a quote that comes up in the section on generosity. And so, if we give things away to others, they'll also have it's not necessarily talking about getting rid of all of our possessions, and because if we give our stuff away to other people, they'll also have to leave it at the time of death as well. But what we need to do is bring this back to ourselves, and not just talking about, it says this material thing and I are definitely going to be parted by death. So we should bring this back and relate it to ourselves, the self, and the five aggregates. And we have a precious human rebirth. That's a wonderful, an amazing, our precious, we born in a precious human rebirth, which is a tremendous thing, but its very nature is that we will have to cast that precious, certainly in terms of our body, and we have to cast that aside and go on. And why is that the case? Because it's the nature of impermanence. So I'm not saying don't completely kind of take hold of or completely cast aside the body, in the sense. What I'm saying is that but we have to sort of loosen our grasp on it and think about we have to kind of let go of it. I'm not saying completely cast it aside now, but to let go of it and think, well, what is it that I can take with me? What's the essence that can be taken with me? So this is my body, the resources, and so we have to, it's for sure that this body is not stable. It can't be taken with us, and so it has to be cast aside when we move on to the next life. And so here, what do we do then? So then we sort of start thinking about, well, how do I? Okay, there must be some essence. What is that essence, and how do I take the essence? And here, the Buddha is advising us. He says, so cultivate the clear understanding of non-attachment to anything whatsoever. So the discrimination of non-attachment, and so this, so we need to make this kind of understanding stable and firm. And this is advice not just to the Buddhas, not just to us, it's also the advice to the Bodhisattvas. The Buddha's giving the advice to the Bodhisattvas here, that not anything from this body, it says nothing, attachment to anything whatsoever. So nothing from this life, whether it's the body, the resources, loved ones, and in fact, no place anywhere in samsara should be attached to, and so there's no, you can't buy insurance at all. It's not possible. There's no insurance at all, and so we need to cultivate the understanding of non-attachment.
Voilà. 다 뒤진가 다 셈도나 셈도나 이시이베나 산제 신도 미지비 뒤시라도 뭐 잡고 다디 완전 남고 산지비 통음이 제주도 샤디와 대장가 당인다고 그래 세다 신에디 내가 제주디가 송도와 다디기 산제 신도 미지 세디 란주 남자 준도 산지 신 지규어 접지래 가전스나 배나 즉시가 하버들이야 아니 수수 모토는 이주 가르 또 많지 모토로 지 차기 기르바 저장가 되게 와도신 저기 라마다 수수 냠내 야보로 지 채위나 아니 다시가 하버들이야 같이 시도 냠친 신이들도 와 여기 라마지고 말다 저기 미제나로래 용도 미제 지수 나로래야 지금 남미 요딩이들 같이 같이 시가들은 랍지 잡지 심 별로 샤체 랍지 해야 되는 용도 봐 만바 큐니메 부터네 어디서디 가르치는 등주 주요다 등주 그디 이미 미신 다 단당원에 대 등주디 아주 간제주 고구도 슬라비나 다지기 강터 라마리아 소다 산제를 소다 웬데선데 계시주 라마당 산제당 드주 청말로 아주 차려야지 아주 추구잉에도 이시 추구잉에도 시작되지 라마 세대를 제주 총벌에 대야 란절이야 정신기 팀이 란절이야 누버란치스 유여 정신기 팀한테 답이나 정신기 팀한 답이 인테네 소소양 라마나시 산제의 현주선만 신체지 현존자가 용요 때문에 또 마요한테 란절다 루브 팀에게 집지 마요 대가랑기다 아주 디레마도 지게 누버만 란치스 유여 딩원에 알아주 셈나로를 이제 되고 신예배이나 단다 귤라마르베 귤라마이베이나 귤라마제 아니 조상권의 초치다 리유치는 산지 다도 산지 닝부제 시제 귤라메르베 귤라마르바 어디 귤라메나 소문나 신시시 다 저거 산지의 전주선바 쪽이 현존치야 돼 아니 배 프로젝트 산지 팀데디 현존비미 튼규도 중요한데 산지 출을 주샤시로 냠버샤베 냠샤이시티 출을 주샤시도 다음에 주전 라르미담이 수도 냠버샤베 안에 배전이와 샤바 인자 배전이와 시바 다테 배전이와 시바 다테와 인자 아니 심진기 통 간지 지하고 네 제고 삼만인 봐 그걸 내는 개와이나 다가랑이야 아니 페토비아다 현존제도겠지 충분히 땅 알아줘 디 마요야디 아니 배드 마요 버려서 말이 알아줘 요래 다도 상지 닝부진래 가르치는 다도 상지 닝부도 가르치는 추구 사변들 아 추구 사변스는 되게 유로 반조 심기랑 신의 팀에 뭐슈고 다가나서 심기랑 신의 팀에 쇼소나타 제게요 말에 상지에 잡투에게요 말에 말한조이네 다가란 루기리 디 말한주군이 ding ya go chin ye na molam jamne jabdan ro shiga labdeliya mal jabro chi chi yongji jabro ge ma yimba shiga labdeliya soso yi ji yebe ton on balinga de la titan do che ye mal ne be yor che dile chadan chuma son de ne che chima ni che ne be chadan yo zan di ya go yong tu ye di and lama tuji lama da sanje de chenju sen be talen ka din chi bu chung so mon baline lam den zero na se chi chu dan di de ba kinji chi jing yu su de cho zero na se de do sun de shu na di jagun에 소소래도 다 정신은 제가 뒤치디 타마디 상계 현도 미쳐봐 뒤치고 버지 그랬다 어디 다시 물으셔 도 이제 아버지 차셔가지고 도 시지 다들이 뒤치디 봄다 뒤싱아디 차제 다 도스 마지고 드르마 차상지 로셔긴 한 dom제도 다 심도는 이시인배나 상계 현도 미지비 뒤시라도 공부하시고 좀 된디 측주 제대 가져봐 최나 정신 남다 병원에 뒤시고 전주 샘다 랍된 빙기신 뒤시고 최나 정신 왜세 미고메비 뒤시고 오버 탐지 메다베 차고메비 뒤시고 심 이시 중위주 샘네 이시 중위주 상계 현도 미수직 좀 된디 디게 제 가져봐다 전주 샘바는 개념벌로서 그것도 탐지라도 가고 이란에 좀 된디고 송발로 녀버도 거의 나가 이시셔 태고침 태고침부 또 조소 이제 맞죠.
Rebirth 这个群体企业刚那个像那个拉玛den so当samsam的米个den so可以空so个拉车加的米七个拉玛个搞是的空so个咱们个sem了车
어디 샘틀레 제지 고 가실을 양디 그랑 등수 중도 와서 했더래.
yeah well
샘틀레 제 디인지 미고도스.
yeah and so we come to the fifth of the main points, and this one reads one realizes mind. When one realizes mind, this is wisdom. So one should cultivate the clear understanding of not seeking the Buddha elsewhere. And so this is not seeking. So this is, of course, this is discussed in terms of in not in a common discussion, but in terms of discussion in relation to those who are Buddhists and not seeking not seeking the Buddha elsewhere is what it says at the time of death. Now, for those who, maybe for those who've achieved sort of a great achievement of practice, then might be a different matter. But for those, for most of us who haven't fully achieved our practice, then it's possible that so a sense of courage, or confidence at the time of death is helpful in helping us to die in a peaceful state. And it's possible that the gurus with very good with very good practice at the time of death, or even give advice to someone who is at the point of dying. And it's also even possible that that ordinary people may give advice, and that somehow people have a kind of freedom from fear at the time of death, a kind of courage or confidence when they're dying, and they have a lack of fear. But then it's difficult to say, in that kind of situation, it's very difficult to say what is that confidence, what kind of confidence it is, where does it come from. And so but we do require a sense of kind of confidence or courage, but what kind do we require? And so if we supplicate the gurus and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and supplicate them, now and if they from free of obscurations, from the that is kejitini out cause cheeing nigi cause yeshiki cheeing dene nangwa shanes ani kare Sangi Namsune Yeshiki Ching ni number shanes, and
추구 잉네 추구 잉네 샤바세 티스기베
yeah, go nature and disorder. Any Chichena is a Nanza the Dippen Mena, and in answer Ching the curry. Tim Tore or she do a Titra. The
비제딘지레 다 산지기 추구 출러 추자시도 냠바샤 봐 출러 추자시도 냠바샤베 땡네 아니 수구 나바 페 아니 추구 나바 땡지 신전제바 나신 마라에 있느냐 아니 추구 사변도 맞으면 말 두스
레오제
추구 사변도 두스 이나이니 된다 제마토야 땡 하라랑글 남바레 샤스 디 인도 점베 다 계제주디 마음바레 있느냐 예 지기 겨와질렘바 있느냐 야가도 맞으면 최고야 돼 다 단도양 모투니 제유 섬섬시 된도 그 등주 친구도 왔어요.
Yeah. And so you know, the Buddhas are able to, you know, the Buddhas are kind of in meditative equipoise, like, you know, in the sense of with the, you know, their wisdom and the Dharma Dhatu, the Dharma the Dharmakaya or the Dharma Dhatu, in like water is poured into water. And so, but for them, they're able to arise out of that state, and the form body can appear out of that state in order to work for the benefit, you know, the benefit of sentient beings. For us, we have obscurations, right? So we're not able to practice at that level. But we can also imagine that we have to give us a sense of confidence. We could imagine that we have the potential in our hands. We have the seed of enlightenment, so to speak, which would allow us to do that. And so we make it kind of almost like a supplication to say, oh, in another life, I hope that I can develop that and you know, cultivate and develop that practice, and essentially take that seed and become like them in the future. And from the Atara Tantra, it says that the perfected Buddha, the enlightened activities spread out from the enlightened Buddhas. And then on the last line of that verse, it says that all sentient beings have that seed in them. And so it would, you know, the seed which and from the first line, the enlightened activities of the Buddha, it means that the Buddhas are able to work spontaneously and effortlessly for the welfare of all sentient beings. And so, because when they achieve complete enlightenment, they engage at the last moments. They engage in of the path to enlightenment. They engage in They enter a meditative equipoise from which they will never then need to come out of again. And so that allows them to work with complete lack of need for effort for the welfare of all sentient beings. And as you know, they shine out of this Dharma Dhatu. The form body shines out of the Dharma Dhatu to be able to perform the welfare and you know, to perform the welfare of all. So of course we're not at that level, but we have that seed, that the seed of the ability to attain complete enlightenment, and so with that Dharmakaya seed, we can and also, you know, that, so we have that seed there, but also if we think about the nature of the mind, that the defilements can temporarily obscure, but can never part of the nature of the mind. And so that is also another form of protection for us, which can also give us a kind of trusting faith at the time of the death, so that you know, I'm not at that level of those levels of practice now, but I have this seed of Buddhahood, as mentioned in the Uttara Tantra, and I have, you know, to be able to achieve that state, and that I have that in future lives I'm very grateful to, so you kind of making like a prayer that you have a kind of trusting faith and confidence. So in future lives, I'm supremely grateful to the gurus and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So please reveal in future lives, please reveal to me the path. It's like, help me, provide a cooperative condition to me to reveal the path to me. And so this gives us a kind of confidence in the time of the death. And so I think this is the meaning of not searching for the Buddha elsewhere. And then those are the 5 main points have been covered. And so then the sutra reads, the Blessed One then spoke the following verses. Since all phenomena are naturally pure, one should cultivate the clear understanding that there are no entities. Since all phenomena are connected with the enlightened mind, one should cultivate the clear understanding of great compassion. Since all phenomena are naturally luminous, one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-apprehension. Since all entities are impermanent, one should cultivate the clear understanding of non-attachment. Since the mind is the cause for the arising of wisdom, do not look for the Buddha elsewhere. After the Blessed One had spoken, the whole assembly, including the Bodhisattva Akashagarbha and others, were overjoyed and full of praise for the Buddha's words. This concludes the Noble Mahayana Sutra on the wisdom of the hour of death.
Okay. Now time is up. Actually, today is the last day. But when I look at the lojong, the leftover, the lojong, what we left is quite important parts. And what I can do is just read very quickly and then say we're done. But deep inside somewhere in my brain is saying, this is my first time trying to try to study with you or to discuss this very precious text by Geshe Chagawa, and then also Geshe Tome Sangpos. So that I don't feel very comfortable to finish it very quickly. So I'm with a folded hand. I apologize not finishing on time, and most of my friends know me very well on this. I'm not really organized person. So the boss of the, where is the boss of the is the Dharma Friends of Israel? Yeah.
Can you see me?
So,
Rinpoche?
sorry?
We'll be so delighted if you could teach us another Saturday, please.
Okay.
We thank you
I don't
so
know
much
if you will be delighted or not. I will be very happy.
We will be very happy. We thank you so much for these teachings, and it will be wonderful if you could teach us the rest again.
Okay.
Please.
So I'm asking for one more Saturday. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So can I, did I receive the permission or not? Did I get? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
so,
we'll all decide exactly and let everybody know how it will go on.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then Fabrizio, you free on Saturday? Good. Okay, he did this, so that means like full free. Yeah, whenever Yaki, thank you very much. So we'll meet next Saturday, and let's finish the 7 points of mind training. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now let's do the dedication.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, made this discernment sever all doubts. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Chunraising Tenzin Gyatso. Please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By contemplating the qualities of the grounds and path, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with a dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the three times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Thank you very much. And then I received very good questions. So I'm looking forward to answer that next Saturday. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, happy weekend. And today I'm thinking, let's do 108 Om Mani Padme Hum together for the people who are really suffering out there due to this pandemic. Many people are suffering and then are in hospitals. So the world is going crazy right now. So let's we can't go out there and help directly, but somehow we can be through mentally how we can try our best to connect with them and make a connection with those people. So let's do the Om Mani Padme Hum 108 times together. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. See you next Saturday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rinpoche, for these teachings. Thank you. We'd like to thank also our interpreters, Venerable Carson Simon Holton and Fabrizio Palotti. Thank you very much for your effort. And we'd like to thank everybody for being with us today and for your generosity, which will enable us to continue our activities. And we're going to meet next Saturday, all of us today, at 9, like today at 9, next Saturday for the continuation of these teachings. So thank you very, very much. It's been great. Thank you, Rinpoche, again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
See you all. Bye-bye.